Hello Tigers, and welcome to the TMNtv Newscast for Wednesday, August 8th, 2018. I'm Jaden Mount.
And I'm Haley White.
And in news this week, we have the primary results from last night, as well as the Pope has released a new ruling on the death penalty.
And in sports, it's the first week of 2018 Tiger Athletics, so we have some footage of the football and volleyball first week of practice.
In an upset of an incumbent, former Ellis County Health Administrator Robert Butch Schleier defeated current Ellis County 1st District Commissioner Marcy McClelland in Tuesday night's Republican primary. Unofficial results have named Schleier winning the primary 635 to McClelland's 282. The commissioner made an appearance at the Ellis County Administrative Building Tuesday night. At that time, unofficial results for advanced voting and electronic ballots had been reported, putting Schleier 200 votes ahead. She then began to concede the election and was determined that, quote, the people had spoken. However, there was some indecisiveness about if she would support her opponent in November, citing an apparent lack of campaigning from Schleier.
Probably, we'll see. I have not seen any campaign literature. I have not seen anything except what you had and what he had. I have not seen him out. I've seen a few signs around town, but I haven't seen him out. You know, when you're running for office, you're usually at different things, and I haven't seen him at all.
The former health administrator will face off against Democratic nominee Chris Rorba and independent candidate John Walls this coming November. For more information on voting in your area, contact the local Kansas Department of the Treasurer Office. One race was easy to decide Tuesday night in the contest for Kansas governor. Laura Kelly easily won the Democratic primary in the state to make November's general election. Kelly defeated former Wichita Mayor Carl Brewer and former state legislator Josh Swatty. But that wasn't the only thing that that was the only thing that came easy for those watching Tuesday night's results. In the Republican primary, current Governor Jeff Collier and current Secretary of State Chris Kobach were in a tight race. As of 8 a.m. Wednesday, the two candidates were in a basic tie, each gathering 41% of the vote. But Kobach had a slight lead in total votes by only 191. Provisional ballots were still to be counted. President Donald Trump made a pitch for Kobach as governor Monday. Many believe that helped make the race tighter. Whoever wins the Republican primary will face Kelly and independent Greg Orman in the general election. Libertarian Jeff Caldwell will be on the ballot. In the Republican primary for the 1st District in the U.S. House, incumbent Roger Marshall easily defeated Nick Reinecker by grabbing nearly 70% of votes Tuesday. Speaking of Greg Orman, the candidate submitted more than 10,000 signatures earlier this week in hopes of formally being put on November's general election ballot for governor. Orman needs to have 5,000 verified valid signatures in order to make the ballot. He said he expected to have well more than that number needed to qualify, but Democrats quickly jumped on the news, saying they would investigate the petitions with a fine-tooth comb to make sure they were all legally prepared. The Secretary of State's office will look over the documents during the next few weeks to see if they are valid. Democrats have said they will watch the validation process closely. They fear many laws were broken in order for Orman to get the signatures needed. They also fear Orman being on the November ballot will take votes away from their Democratic candidate for governor as well. Last week, the Northwest Kansas area was treated to a tale of survival from a California man. Kevin Hines attempted suicide by jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge in September 2000. He miraculously survived and shared his message of hope and inspiration with hundreds in attendance last week. Haley White had a chance to chat with Hines about his life's journey.
I need help now.
There was a great turnout as community members of Hayes gathered at the local middle school Wednesday evening to listen to the internationally known speaker and mental health advocate Kevin Hines tell the audience a message involving healing and hope.
In the year 2000, due to bipolar disorder and depression brought on by that brain disease, that mental illness, I attempted to take my life by jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge at 19 years of age. It was the single worst action I had ever taken. Upon the millisecond of free fall from that attempt, I had an instant regret for my actions. I recognized as I was falling that I made the greatest mistake of my life and that it was too late.
Kevin's survival contributed to the 2% of people who will pull through after jumping off the iconic bridge.
2,000 people who've died off that bridge, it's been too late. 36 individuals in the 80 years that that bridge has been open have survived that fall. 5 of us can walk and run.
Hines is the only one who regained full physical mobility after the jump.
Upon impact, I actually shattered my T12, L1, and L2 lower vertebrae into shards. They popped and splintered throughout my insides. I went in the hospital from a wheelchair to a walker and a back brace to a back brace and a cane, and then right into my first psychiatric hospital, where I got better initially, but would be in 7 psych ward stays in the next 11 years.
Kevin Hines hopes to help break the stigma surrounding mental illness and to provide hope for those who might currently be suffering.
I'm not just lucky to be alive, I'm lucky I get to exist, and if I get to exist, I'm going to travel around the world 300 days a year trying to help people like you who are going through pain, who are struggling mentally, stay here, find a way through the pain, to cope with it, to find hope, healing, and recovery, and to always be here tomorrow and every day after that.
For more on Kevin's journey, you can visit www.kevinhinesstory.com. From Tiger Media Network, I'm Haley White.
Garden City Community College will be looking for a new president. The Garden City Telegram reported that a special meeting Monday, the school's Board of Trustees voted to separate with President Herbert Swinder immediately. The agreement reached between the two parties will keep Swinder around until January 1st, 2019, and he will continue to receive his salary and benefits during that time. A trustee said the former president would serve as a consultant on a quote, as requested basis. Nearly 3 months ago, the school's faculty senate presented a report alleging Swinder was involved with bullying, intimidation, sexual harassment, and retaliation measures. An attorney has been hired to investigate the claims. Approximately 100 faculty, staff, and community members were present for Monday's meeting. When the announcement was made, many applauded and cheered. On Thursday, Pope Francis published a new ruling calling the death penalty inadmissible. Tribune News Service said the Pope called for the death penalty to be abolished. The Vatican said the ruling focuses on Francis's basis of mercy. Prior to the ruling, the Church accepted some forms of capital punishment. Pope Francis has been a longtime opponent of the death penalty, as were his 2 predecessors. But many of the Catholic faith quickly were shocked by the Pope's ruling, and it is an issue that has divided Catholics in the U.S. for years. A recent Pew survey found 53% of American Catholics supported capital punishment, while 43% were against it. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro escaped an assassination attempt during the weekend when organizers tried to kill the official with drones carrying explosives. Maduro wasn't injured in the Saturday attempt, but 7 soldiers were injured, 3 seriously. Officials said 2 drones carrying up to 2 pounds of explosives were targeting Maduro before radio signals were jammed by security equipment. 1 drone exploded over the soldiers. Another exploded around a nearby building. 6 people were in custody in connection with the assassination plot. Maduro blamed ultra-right Venezuelans in alliance with ultra-right Colombians for the attack, according to the Tribune News Service. And those are the stories making headlines this week. When we come back, we'll of course have some interesting sports stories for you.
Yes, Sporting KC had a good weekend this past weekend as they snapped their 5-match losing streak.
Stay tuned.
students should major in MIS is that it's a nice blend between technology and business. For MIS specifically, though, it's to improve business decision making. MIS graduates for about the past 10 years have had a 100% placement rate after graduation, which is either them continuing on to master's school or getting a job within the field.
The faculty and staff here at Fort Hays in the informatics department has helped me secure a full-time job post-graduation. They're really here to help us succeed.
I have to constantly keep up with all the evolutions and the trends so I can, bring these cutting edge or emerging technologies into the classroom so students can experience them themselves and also learn from them and be better prepared for when they graduate.
The talented prospect Lael Collins from LSU.
For a touchdown by Mike Evans.
The 2018 season is officially underway for the Tigers as the FHSU football team kicked off practice this week. The defending MIAA champs took the field with a running start to begin the season in hopes of defending their conference crown. Here are some highlights of week 1 of practice.
Stay off the damn ground. Ready, go! Off here, middle. Ready, let's go. Ready, let's go. All's here. Again, every time it protects it, right out. All's here, middle. Let's go. Go. Head up, son.
I'm Raps MVP, and I ain't going nowhere, so you can get to know MVP, and I ain't going nowhere, so you can get to know MVP. On the grill of my lowrider, go.
Right there!
The Fort Hays volleyball team also kicked off practice Monday. The Tigers are coming off an 11-23 season under an interim coach. But Jessica Wood-Atkins was hired a few months ago, and the first-year coach was excited at what she saw Monday after the first 2 practices.
Yeah, I am very excited with this crew. I think that they all came in ready to work. They came in shape, some of them in better shape than they left, which is always exciting as a coach. But there is a lot of talent here, a lot of young players, but a lot of talent. So I'm very excited for what we're going to see this fall.
Several younger players a year ago saw significant playing time in the tough MIAA. The Tigers went 2-16 in conference play. Wood-Atkins is counting on those young players to step up again this year.
I think we're definitely going to rely on them, but I think they're also going to be challenged, which is a good thing. You know, you hope that your team is strong enough. You've got people who are competitive enough every year that you're going to get pushed. But yeah, I mean, we have some returners who did some phenomenal things last year. You know, I think Taylor White was picked all MIAA, and she's coming off an injury, and so she had to have surgery in the spring and missed out on the entire spring, and you wouldn't know it by the way she moved today. Amira Bentley set a lot for us in the fall, and she is a fantastic setter. I think she's going to be fighting for some time again. Aslan Cassidy is one of our seniors, who is definitely one of our stronger passers, and she's actually fighting for a hitting position right now too. So yeah, I think that there's some definite strength there. Tatum Bartels actually was playing in the middle as a freshman, which in the MIAA is pretty tough to do. And she is definitely a force to be reckoned with. So I am expecting a lot from that crew.
The Tigers have a little less than 3 weeks to prepare for their first matches of the season on August 24th at Oklahoma's Panhandle State University.
It hits hard and fast. And so, we really rely on the girls to build off of what they did in the spring and continue that over the summer. We can't require them to do anything over the summer. And so the fact that they take that initiative says a lot about their commitment. The MIAA, it is a tough conference. Even the bad teams in the MIAA can defeat a lot of the good teams in most other conferences. So it's going to be a fight every night. But I think it's a fight we're ready for.
RPM Speedway returns to action this Saturday with IMCA Racing in Hayes. The Speedway will host the Modified, Stocks, Northern Sport Mods, Hobby Stocks, Sport Compacts, and Cruisers. Hot laps are set for 6 p.m. with races to follow. General admission gates open at 5 p.m. and pits open at 4 p.m. During intermission, there will be a hot dog eating contest. For more information about the night, visit rpmspeedway.net. Things are starting to look bright again for Sporting Kansas City. Sporting snapped a 5-match winless streak with a 1-0 victory Saturday against the Houston Dynamo. Diego Rubio scored the 74th minute to provide the game's lone goal and propel Sporting to the win. Then on Monday, Sporting announced former standout forward Christian Nemeth was acquired from the New England Revolution in exchange for allocation money and a 2020 MLS Super Draft pick. Nemeth scored 16 goals in 33 matches for Sporting during his time with the team in 2015. He then played for a team overseas before returning to the MLS's Revolution. Sporting will travel to take on the LAFC on Saturday night. The Ohio State University football jumped into the national eye even before the first preseason practices started when it was announced late last week that head coach Urban Meyer would be placed on paid administrative leave. The situation involves domestic violence allegations between a former assistant coach, Zach Smith, and his then-wife, Courtney Smith. At the Big Ten Media Day, Meyer said he had no idea what reporters were talking about when he was asked about the reports of the 2015 domestic violence. A few days later, the head football coach changed his story and said he did report it to the proper officials. Smith was fired in late July and was denied any domestic abuse, although texts between him and his ex-wife show otherwise. Reports have alleged the abuse dates back to 2009 when Smith was an assistant under Meyer when he coached at Florida. The university's investigation into the situation is expected to take 2 weeks. Depending on the outcome, Meyer could be allowed to return as head coach or be removed from the position. Tragic news hit Garden City Community College football team after its first day of practice last week. After the team's first practice, 19-year-old Braden Bradforth was found experiencing medical issues in his dorm room by a teammate. Bradforth eventually was taken to the local hospital where he died. Cause of death still hasn't been determined. Bradforth was from Neptune Township, New Jersey. Local businesses and churches helped organize money in order for Bradforth to be returned home for burial. UCLA's men's basketball team got a big score Monday when it was announced Shaquille O'Neal's son would play for the Bruins next year. Sharif O'Neal cleared eligibility requirements and is one of 6 freshmen joining UCLA's roster for the upcoming season. The 6'10", 220-pounder averaged 27 points per game as a senior, while leading his school to a state championship. According to the Tribune News Service, 13 University of North Carolina football players will serve suspensions for selling school-issued shoes. 9 players will receive a 4-game suspension, 2 players will sit out 2 games, and 2 more will miss 1 game after they allegedly sold their UNC Retro Air Jordan 3s. Some players pocketed up to $2,500 for selling the one-of-a-kind shoes. The university found out about the incident and self-reported it to the NCAA, which declared it a secondary violation. All of the players eventually had to return the shoes to the university. That's all we have for this episode. We will return in a few weeks as the fall semester gets started. In the meantime, to stay up to date on the latest news and information throughout the week, visit TigerMediaNet.com. Until then, remember, roar Tigers.
Skip
5, 4, 3, 2, take it.
The Tiger Media Network is Fort Hays State University's independent student media organization. It's a student employment opportunity where you can work for either the news side or the sports side. So you can be on live sports production, which produces all of the live sports broadcasts that we do, or you could be on the news side and do news stories covering things on campus. So presidential announcements, Student Government Association. We bring that news to the student community and the Hays community as well.
You don't realize how much Fort Hays State has to offer until you're here.
I mean, it is definitely, this is the land of opportunity here.
I just got back from the MIAA tournament in Kansas City a couple weeks ago where we worked with other production crews including Pitt State and Central Missouri. And it's a great time. I've gone there the last couple years.
For me anyway, I get to do sports, which is what I love. And if live productions is where that's at, this is the perfect place to do it. We have almost everything that you could possibly imagine.
Tiger Media Network allows you the opportunity to take the skills you've learned and put them forward in a real world, real application setting that allows you to flourish and grow as a professional, and that will only help you and benefit you when you graduate and go into the real world workforce.